Dan Lannon finally wins the big one. And now him and Oregon are the top Ducks in the Big Ten. You see what I did there? Haha, see what I did there? But welcome, it's football, bro. You can catch the podcast on any of the podcasting platforms, or you can check it out live on the YouTube. We're going to be talking about the top 25, all the games that went down this past weekend because there was a lot of craziness. And of course, our Heisman front runners. Let's go ahead, get into that top 25. I only got one faller this week, and it was actually a pretty big jump down for Utah, unfortunately. As Utah, the Utes, man, they end up going down to Arizona State, and this was Cam Rising returning. We've been waiting. The prodigal son, where are you? Where art thou? He comes back, looks rusty, and now Utah has 2 losses in the Big 12, and that's kind of significant. But I mean, it doesn't put them out of Big 12 championship contention. Not this year in the Big 12. Big 12 looks like honestly, maybe you could get by with 2 conference losses, but that really depends on how the season goes down and whatnot. But yeah, bad loss for Utah, and just kind of things getting harder for them. It didn't feel right keeping them in the top 25 and keeping a team like, I don't know, ASU out of it, but they did just miss my top 25. Again, ASU with the huge win. Don't look now, Sun Devils, 5-1, man. 5-1. Golly, dude. I think their one loss is Texas Tech. Let me just go and confirm that. But, man, this just feels like a ragtag team, man, getting it done. And you just love to see it. Yeah, one loss was Texas Tech this season. But ASU, you got to wonder, well, how will they... Well, what does their future look like in the Big 12 this year? As, I mean, to be fair, the schedule gets a little tougher. Actually, their next 6 games are pretty darn tough for Arizona. Cincinnati might be their easiest one. They get them next week. They get Oklahoma State, a team that's kind of in turmoil. Central Florida, which you could argue that might be their next easiest challenge, as now they're having the quarterback turnover. But then they end the year, Kansas State, BYU, Arizona. So it's going to be a tough road ahead for the Sun Devils. Syracuse, they also just miss the list. They're going to be getting a bye this week, but they moved to 5-1. They beat NC State. Yay. They should have beat them by more. I was kind of shocked that Syracuse was only 2.5-point favorites. But, hey, man, NC State, I don't know, maybe. I thought NC State was going to be a good team this season. I thought they would be maybe a 3, worst case scenario, 4-loss team. Not going to be the case for the Wolfpack, but they made it close. They got a interesting young quarterback in, what is his name? Like Quinn Bailey or something? But nonetheless, Syracuse, Kyle McCord and company, they're here. Just missed it. Nebraska, they're currently on the outside looking in. They're coming off a bye, but they got a big showdown with Indiana this week. Be on the look for that sucker. And then Texas Tech, a team I just mentioned with Arizona State, as Texas Tech's only loss this year is against, I think, 5-1 Washington State, which Washington State, you could argue, should make this list, as their only loss has been against, well, Boise State. But nonetheless, we got... not Nebraska, but Texas Tech. They had a bye. They get Baylor next week. And then Navy, just on the outside looking in for me. They had a bye. They get Charlotte. They should be big favorites in that game. I look forward to betting it. Let's go ahead. Everybody loves the NFL draft, and I know you want to be familiar with every potential prospect that your team may draft. So I got good news for you. My draft guide is available for purchase. It is good throughout the entire draft cycle, and it updates through the season regularly. You'll get my current evals and rankings on hundreds of different players with player backgrounds and analytics. It also contains combine and pro day numbers, as well as my notes from the Senior and Shrine Bowl. You can purchase it for a one-time payment of $30 on PayPal, Venmo, and now I have the Cash App. Follow the link in the description and be sure to include your email because it is a Google spreadsheet. That is how I share it with you. So please don't make me hunt down your email. Just don't do it. Anywho, it's a great purchase and it's a great way to support the channel. Get to the top 25 because I got a new team in here. And we're actually going to be talking about them relatively quickly as Army is the new addition. Army, Military Academy, they've done it. They moved to 6-0. They beat UAB 44-10. Hit that minus 23.5 for me. They're blowing teams out. Love to see it. Army Navy, can we see them take on each other twice this year? Maybe see them take on each other in season and in the AAC championship game. Maybe both make the playoffs. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's getting a little far-fetched there, but dude, Army doing some great things this year. Illinois, they make it for me at 25. Purdue, okay, they were crushing Purdue. I don't know. I was like, what the hell is happening? They were crushing Purdue 27-3. I go back to the game because good buddy in the chat is going crazy. And I'm like, this game's going to overtime. Purdue came roaring back. They took the lead. They put in a freshman quarterback because Hudson Carr hasn't been doing anything this year. And he played really good, man. He played really good for Purdue. Illinois, at the end of the day, able to sneak it out. Purdue unable to get the 2-point conversion to go in overtime. So Illinois wins 50-49. Now they freaking have to go to... Is that game going to be in Ann Arbor against... No. Fortunately, it's going to be at Champaign for Illinois. But they take on Michigan. Not. Maybe this is a case of Illinois looking ahead, looking past Purdue, but nonetheless, man, it was a little scary. Pittsburgh's here at 23. Listen, I get it. They're undefeated. They're 6-0. But maybe something in me was like, Pittsburgh, how can you not cover the over? I even bet it down to like 54.5. And then Pitt and Cal score 32 combined. What the hell? To be fair, this is a Cal team playing really good football this season. They really have. Mendoza, he's been slinging it. Has he been perfect? Hell no. But Pittsburgh's looked really good this year. They're going to be going on a bye this week. And then let's take a gander at their upcoming schedule. Pittsburgh Panthers schedule. As their next game will again, the schedule gets a little bit harder. They take on Syracuse. They get that game at home. That'll happen October 24th. Then they got to travel to SMU, which they're a one-loss team, but one loss against undefeated BYU. Looking a little bit better. I feel like SMU has gotten pretty hot down the stretch. And I mean, you close the year with like Virginia, Clemson, Louisville, Boston College. You played the easy part of your schedule, and you did well. You got wins. I'm just not buying completely into this Pittsburgh team just yet. Boise State, they get by Hawaii. Hawaii came out with a good game plan, but they get by. They win 28-7. And Ashton Genty, man, if you didn't bet him before the year, good luck getting good odds on him for being the Heisman Trophy winner. Because, golly, man, I do love me some Ashton Genty. And then Michigan, they had the bye. They get Illinois. They travel to Champaign. I'm kind of curious who's going to be the starter at quarterback for Michigan going into that game, but we'll find out when we get there. They are one of two loss teams I have in my top 25. Going to number 20, it's Missouri. They're still sitting here. Cool, you pounded UMass, but I'm still trying to wash the taste of that, 41-7 loss to Texas A&M. Still trying to wash that sucker out of my mouth. Oh, it was terrible to see. And you know what? Auburn might be just the proper dose of medicine. You smash UMass 45-3. Now you take on an Auburn team that's kind of in disarray. So, cool. Ole Miss. They dropped their second game of the year. They have now 2 losses in SEC play. They lose to LSU in overtime, 29-26. They're going to be getting a bye this week. But things got a lot harder for Ole Miss. They really, really did, man. Ole Miss should have won this game. And LSU fans might not like to hear that, but it's true. I was saying this during the because I was watching this game while we were doing the live stream of Oregon, Ohio State, which we'll talk about. But I was watching this game and I was like, dude, like, Ole Miss should have like 13, 16 more points than they do. They should. Like, what's going on in this LSU game? Like, you had the Trey Harris dropped touchdown pass. You had a missed field goal. You had a 4th and 1 at the 2. And they go for it, and instead of taking the points. And it was just it got to a point where it was like, man, Ole Miss, they should be up way more in this game. And it just bide time for LSU to get their bearings and get into the game. And this second half, like, LSU won the second half. Ole Miss, I think they won the first half, didn't do enough to make a lead. But LSU won that second half, man. LSU, Garrett Nussmeier, I know he wasn't perfect, but man, he was slinging the ball all around. Came up big with the tutty in overtime. You had the defense come alive. Like, this was a game of two different offensive lines. One that struggled and one that didn't give a crap. LSU's offensive line, for the most part, did a relatively solid job at neutralizing a very scary pass rush from Ole Miss. While Ole Miss, they just couldn't get pressure against LSU, or at least LSU, man. They were just constantly getting pressure. Every play felt like freaking Jackson Dart was on the ground. He was taking a pounding. And the minute Trey Harris was out of this ball game, I don't know what the hell happened to the offense. They kept forcing it to the cat in the slot. What was it, like Chris Lee or something? And then, holy freaking moly, like, Juice Wells, where have you been the last couple of games? They can't complete a pass to him. Ole Miss now 2 losses in SEC play. Long shot to make the SEC championship game. And at this point, a long shot to make the playoffs. They get Oklahoma on the 26th. You got Arkansas. You get Georgia. Fortunately, Oklahoma and Georgia are at home. Is Florida going to be an easy out late next month? I don't know, man. I don't know. SMU, they had a bye. They're 5-1. I currently have them at 18. They have Stanford. They have a reasonably easy rest of the way, with Pittsburgh probably being their biggest competition there. Iowa State, I moved them to 17, and I'm sorry, I just have a hard time right now still trying to buy in to this Iowa State team, and it's just like I don't think they've really beaten anybody. Like, they've had some good wins, like, here and there. Don't get me wrong. The win against Iowa, impressive. The win against West Virginia, impressive. Outside of that, what? They open, I mean, it's not like they've really had, like, dominating wins. And, like, the schedule gets a little more difficult down the stretch for Iowa State. Currently 6-0 Iowa State, by the way. As this upcoming week, they get Central Florida. Central Florida is kind of, they're on the struggle bus. The Gus struggle bus. They get Texas A&M after that. That's not a shoo-in win. Kansas, okay. Kansas, rough year for Kansas. Cincinnati, but the end of the year with Utah, which presumably should have Cam Rising, and Kansas State. So I'm moving them up moderately. If you're not new to the channel, you know I do this with my power rankings. I do this with my top 25. When I move teams, I do it slowly. I do it moderately. I'm not going to have teams take these massive jumps or big falls unless it's like really big wins. And Iowa State, to me, just hasn't had that big one. Texas A&M, they had the bye this week. They get Mississippi State. Mississippi State, basically a team in rebuild, first year Levy, so they should win there and move to 6-1. Let's get to the top 15. Listen, there's a lot of parity in college football. There's a lot. You hear the dogs, man. They love it right now. They're loving it, man. College football's in all kinds of. Is a 12-team playoff big enough? It's kind of where we're at in college football. Kansas State coming in at 15. They beat Colorado 31-28 in Boulder. They get West Virginia next week. For the most part, Kansas State they ran over Colorado in this game, forcing 16 forced missed tackles. Giddens was great. A lot of injuries during the game. A lot of players leaving, coming back after a series or so. But they controlled the game. They led the whole way. Colorado kind of got back into there, but Colorado was also struggling with injuries. You had Travis Hunter go down with a few plays left in the second half or in the first half. You had wide receivers also go down, and they got back into that ball game. And to be fair, I thought the defense for Colorado did a solid enough job shutting down the pass, but it was man, that's really the run you need to worry about. But then at the end, I really hated Shedur's fourth down pass. I just thought it was a poor decision. You only need a few yards. Why are you going deep on a contested ball that you really just kind of floated out of bounds? I thought it was a bad call. But Kansas State, they pull away. They do the thing. They will get West Virginia next week. Indiana, they are at 14, currently undefeated. They had the bye this week. Big game for Indiana next week as they'll be taking on Nebraska and Matt Rule. Who will win? Cignetti or Rule? You shall see. But Curtis Rourke playing great football. Notre Dame, they are 5-1. They beat the pants off of Stanford. After Stanford, they scored first. They were up 7-0, and then bam, 49 points later. Well, Notre Dame ran through them. Notre Dame doing the thing. They get Georgia Tech. One of the honestly, the rest of the schedule doesn't look like easy sledding for Notre Dame. They get Georgia Tech. You still got Navy, Army on the schedule. You still finish the year in the Coliseum against USC, which USC, I know they're a 3-loss team right now, but I think combined, they've lost those games by 15 points or so. So a USC team that's not losing by a large margin in games. That's a good USC team, and you're facing them in the Coliseum. So it's not easy sledding for Notre Dame, and since they're not a group of 5 team, they're not a power 4 team, kind of feels like they need to win out to make the playoffs. Maybe you could get in at 10-2 just with how many teams are beating down one another. I don't know. We'll see, man. We'll see with Notre Dame. And then at number 12, listen, I had Liberty at the beginning of the year. They are my team to make it in the group of 5. I think they have one of the easier schedules, though they're not making it look like it. They're not making it look like it. It took overtime to beat Florida International. What the hell are we doing? But I still think they're the best team in Conference USA. They're undefeated. They had the Appalachian State game canceled because of the hurricane. And so they're probably going to be they're probably going to be 11-0, 12-0 if they win the conference championship. And that's unfortunately just not going to probably be good enough for whoever comes out of the Mountain West as the conference winner, because that team's going to have one loss. In theory, say UNLV wins out or Boise State wins out, they win the whole thing. So I think Liberty is going to be that team. BYU's here at 11, pounded poor Arizona. Pounded Arizona 41-19. They'll take on Oklahoma State next weekend. Is that game at home? I want to see the line for that game. That game will be... It'll be at home for BYU. It's Friday night. BYU's a 9-point favorite. I think I'm willing to take BYU 9.5, man. I like that. But look at that. We're already looking into the future. Let's get to this top 10, though. As at 10, I have the LSU Tigers, who just got a big win in overtime over Ole Miss. Is LSU back? Are they back? Well, they're currently 5-1. They take on Arkansas next week, and they don't have a conference loss. Their loss came at the beginning of the year against USC in Vegas. I almost said Nolens, but in Vegas. Let's take a look at the remainder of the schedule because they get. Yeah, I figured they got either Alabama or Georgia. I can't remember which, but Arkansas, Texas A&M, Alabama. That's tough sledding. You get Vandy coming to town. You got to go to the Swamp, take on Florida. Oklahoma's kind of a mess. I'll talk about them when we get to Texas, but LSU, tough schedule. Can they get it done? Can they get it done? Watch out, LSU, man. I had them in. I had them coming into the year as a 3-loss team. And, I mean, those losses could be Bama, could be A&M. But there's a good chance they end up going 5-1 and end the year at 10-2, and that might be that'll be only one loss in the SEC. That'll be enough for a conference championship game. So that's kind of that could be kind of big for LSU. Clemson at 9, man, they've been one of the hottest teams since taking that L to Georgia. They pound Wake Forest 49-14. Clemson's been a covering machine. Cade Klubnik's a new man, by the way. This man's slinging. The schedule does get harder. They get Virginia this upcoming week. They'll follow that up with Louisville, then Virginia Tech, then Pittsburgh, and the year with South Carolina. Not significantly harder. You look at all that, and then it's like, yeah, they should probably win out. Kind of feels like they should win out. They don't get Miami. If they do face Miami, it would be in the ACC championship game. That's if Miami wins out. We'll see. I'll talk about Miami in a second, but Clemson's playing really good football. Tennessee's here at number 8. Not too long ago, man, I had Tennessee at 11, and I was like, man, they're looking good. They're looking dominant. Just need to see them face a team that's legit. And I had someone creep up in the comments section. This is humiliating. This is a laughing stock. How can you not have Tennessee in the top 10? Well, NC State, they're not good. They're not as good as we thought they were. They pounded Kent State. Good. Join everyone else. Everyone else has pounded Kent State. And I was like, I mean, I guess I should move them up. The minute I move them into my top 5, they take that L at Arkansas. And this game did not look good against Florida. It did not look good. Quickly has this offense turned to one-dimensional. They cannot run the football. They cannot move the football. Nico, not looking great, having to go past his first read, just not seeing the field well. And this is an offense that creates a lot of space in for the quarterback so they can make those easy reads. Don't know what's up there. Defense is still doing their dang thing, doing the best that they can to keep Tennessee in ball games, but hey, we're going to find out a lot about Tennessee as they take on Alabama this upcoming week. What is the line? I'm kind of curious. Alabama 2.5-point favorite? Dude, give me that in a heartbeat. I don't care that it's in Knoxville. Like, I think you can maybe bet that up to 6.5. Then again, man, Tennessee defense, don't sleep on it. And actually, kind of the Achilles heel of Alabama this year has been their run defense. Tennessee, that's like the one thing offensively they can do really well. Maybe you keep it at 2.5. And then Georgia, they win not pretty against Mississippi State. They win 41-31. It was kind of slow going. So it was a little surprising nonetheless, but they end up getting the job done. They take on Texas. It's going to be in Austin. They are going to be the underdogs, deservingly so. Does this offense have enough firepower to get things done? I have my doubts. I ain't going to lie, I have my doubts. Really do when it comes to Georgia. And the defense hasn't been the defense that we are accustomed to when it comes to Georgia. But they're 5-1. Congrats. Alabama's here at 6. Freaking hold your heart. I talk about the Hurricanes being the cardiac Canes. How about the cardiac Crimson Tide not being able to put away games? Coming off the loss to Vandy, I thought this was okay. They should go in there and pound South Carolina. Oh, that's right. I forgot. Alabama can't stop the run, and South Carolina, that's kind of what they got going for them. South Carolina, props to them for making this game very exciting, very close, but you started to see some of the cracks in the armor of Jalen Milroe. Forced a couple of passes there. Led to what almost was a pick six for South Carolina. Alabama, they do eventually get it done, 27-25, but the defense don't look that great. And offensively, they're kind of having to backpack the team. But let's move to the top 5. Miami, they're here at 5. They're undefeated. They're 6-0. They had a bye this week. Good, they needed it. They're taking on freaking Louisville next week. And I don't know if this defense is ready. Didn't look good against Virginia Tech. Didn't look good against California. I get it, man. Cam Ward, he's that guy, dude. He's a playmaker. He's also thrown pick sixes in each of those games. And listen, this is a good Louisville team with a good defense. I don't think Miami's going to be able to come from behind if they get down to Louisville. I just don't. Sorry, not sorry. I'm a Hurricanes fan. I speak nothing but truth. And the truth is, you head into freaking Louisville, and I'm kind of hesitant if they can get things done here. I'm sorry. I'm scared. I'm a Hurricanes fan. They're the cardiac Canes right now. Can they get it done? I'm not completely sold yet. Ohio State, they're here at 4 after taking the L. Taking a loss to Oregon, 32-31 in Eugene. They will get a bye. Let's talk about this game for a second. As you'll see, Oregon is my new number 1. They are my new number 1. They get Purdue this upcoming week, this Friday. What's the line on that game? Oregon minus 27.5. Hey, Purdue covered this past week on 22.5. You think they could cover against Oregon? Probably not, but it is what it is. I mean, 27, that's a big number. That's a big number, though. Let's talk about this game just in general. Like, it opens up. Oh, man. Like, Ohio State just drove down the field. Doesn't look like Oregon's going to be able to stop them. To be fair, you could have said that pass over the middle was to the tight end was an interception. Ends up not going to review. You could argue that ends up not being called an interception. Kind of is what it is. And then Oregon, they just kind of keep coming back until we start getting a game that keeps changing. Like you have them just trading off the lead, and it was exciting. It really was. And what it came down to for Ohio State was, for one, the secondary sucked. Denzel Burks, golly, I've never seen someone sink their draft stock so quickly. What a rough game for him. Don't know why Ohio State was playing off coverage almost this entire game. That's a problem when Denzel Burke, very good press corner, and you're having him play consistently 7 to 10 yards off the football. Evan Stewart, he ate. But you go to the trenches, and Ohio State unable to run the football. Like, you had Travion have that one big run, but outside of that, like, him and Quinshawn didn't do much in this game, and Oregon was able to run the football. Oregon's offense was able to do things. Let me give a little shout out to Derek Harmon, looking like a grown man pulling an ice cream out of a child's hand when he ripped Quinshawn Junkins. And then we get to the second half. It's where the game got fascinating. Because for that whole second half, every time Ohio State scored a touchdown, I was like, go for the 2-point conversion. Like, why aren't you trying to make this a 7-point game? I don't understand that logic. Why aren't we going for 2-point conversions? Okay. And we could talk about the final drive. Like Oregon, I don't think the secondary played particularly well. Will Howard was able to eat. Emeka Ibuka, Jeremiah Smith, they all looked really good in this game outside of, well, the offensive pass interference. But at the end of this game, you got just all kinds of dysfunction for Ohio State. You're able to get in field goal position fairly quickly. I mean, at one point it would have been about a 45-yard field goal, and then this is where you have the offensive pass interference, the push off by Jeremiah Smith with about 20, I think there was about 30 to 28 seconds left. And since it was an offensive penalty, the clock kept running. I don't know how Ryan Day or no one on that Ohio State sideline noticed the clock running down. They had one timeout left. You let it get down to like 10 seconds or so. And then they end up throwing an incompletion. You had like 12 men on the field for Oregon. And you got 6 seconds left. If you run a quick play, it better be darn quick. Better be darn quick. Instead, you got Will Howard scrambling, slides, thinking he has, I mean, to be fair, when he slid, he had like 1 second left. But ends up expiring. You don't even get a chance to kick the field goal. That's not on Will Howard. I mean, yeah, you probably should have passed that football, but did Will Howard let like 30 seconds drain off the clock after the offensive penalty? No, that was the coaching staff. How does not one person know or even notice time is moving? Just dysfunction. It was a sucky way to end the game, man. And I bet you the field goal kicker for Ohio State, either he's bummed he didn't get a chance to be the hero, or he's breathing a sigh of relief that he didn't have a chance to lose the game on a field goal. Because it would have been about a 45, 50-yard field goal or somewhat. But props to Oregon. Ohio State, they're a good team. I think those are probably your two of the three best teams in college football. At least that's what it appears to me right now. Penn State's here at number 3. They're currently unbeaten. I get it. It took overtime to beat USC in the Coliseum 33-30. But golly gee willikers, they got it done. They got it done. And they were, it was like they were down 20-6 at half. And you know what? I don't mind it. I don't mind Penn State showing that they could come from behind, handle adversity, and find a way to win the game. I don't mind it. I don't mind it one bit. And now you get to go relax on a bye. Penn State, what's the rest of your schedule look like? As they will get Ohio State on November 2nd. You don't have to face Michigan this year. I mean, the rest of their schedule is like Maryland, Purdue, Minnesota, Washington, Wisconsin. There's a real chance that Penn State's going to be 11-1 playing for the Big Ten championship game. Props to Penn State, man. They moved to 6-0. Texas moves to 6-0. They beat Oklahoma 34-3. Now they take on Texas this week. Quinn Ewers, he looked rusty, but it was a good thing that Oklahoma had no offense this game. Granted, they're like top 5 receivers out this game. You had the offensive line just playing poorly. Many of those guys were coming off of injury. I don't know why Hawkins wasn't benched at some point just to get a spark. Like, you have Jackson Arnold. What are we doing here? Like, your offense isn't moving the football. Like, things were going Oklahoma's way. You had, Quinn Ewers coming out looking rusty, throws the pick. You're playing the field goal position game. You're constantly in good position to where you really only need 30, 35 yards to put yourself in position to kick a field goal. Or you, I don't know, man. The Oklahoma defense, poor Oklahoma defense. You know what this game felt like? It felt like that Clemson Georgia game where both teams played really good first halves. Clemson couldn't get anything going on offense, but the Clemson defense was there to limit and just hold Georgia to minimal points. But then in the second half, the offense just never emerged, and the offense just couldn't get going. So Georgia ran away with it because, well, the defense ran out of gas. This was kind of the case, man. The defense ran out of gas. Like, it was just kind of rough, man. It was a boring game. So much so, like, this was our watch along game. We turned it off. Just wasn't good. Wasn't great. What can I say? Didn't love it. Let's talk about Heisman front runners. Cade Klubnik, baby. Here he is. He had a big game. And I will tell you, I debated between Cade and Dylan Gabriel. Spoiler alert, Gabriel didn't make my top 5 of the Heisman frontrunners. He would be 6 for me. I'm riding with Klubnik. I think he's playing the better football. Granted, he doesn't have a win like Ohio State on the resume just yet. But, I mean, to be fair, looking at Clemson's remaining schedule, he won't have a win like Ohio State, even if they win out. But I think dude's slinging the football, and like he's starting to become a legit draft prospect. Like he is. Like I get it, man. Maybe he gets tested against Virginia this week. We'll see. But Klubnik's playing good football. I thought he deserved a shout out. I really did. And then next on my Heisman front runners at 4, I got Jalen Milroe. Listen, Milroe's still playing hella good football. He's putting up a lot in terms of stats. He's got like 23 total touchdowns on the season. He's a big reason why Alabama is still one of these, I guess, do we call them elite? Is there an elite team in college football this year? I don't think so, but he's why that Alabama is still among these top teams, why they are still a top 10 team, why they are dangerous and potentially one of the best bets to make the SEC championship game. He had his Heisman moment already in that Georgia first half. I don't think you can deny Milroe just yet, man. I don't think, especially given like statistically, I just don't think you could put Gabriel right now over Milroe, but it's close. Again, it's close. At number 3, I got Cam Ward. He had the bye this week, but he's slinging the football hella well. I think coming into the week, he led college football in touchdowns and passing touchdowns and passing yards. Obviously, him having the bye, that probably changes things, but nonetheless, Cam Ward, he every week feels like a Heisman moment after he throws a pick 6, rallying his team back. And then at number 2, probably should be my number 1, but I'm going to wait to see how bad the injury is for number 1. But I got Ashton Jeanty. He runs over Hawaii, gets his first receiving touchdown of the year. Finally, Boise, get him involved in the receiving game. It's not like he didn't have 500 receiving yards all of 2023, man. He was kind of good in that way. But Jeanty, like he's my personal favorite to win. Like I really like him, but I want to hold the brakes. I mean, basically you could argue 1 and 2 is up for grabs. I got Travis Hunter. He played. I don't know if it's just the physicality catching up to him, and like stamina is never going to be a question. It's just with how physical football is he someone that can play over 100 snaps every game, over 120 snaps every game? He ends up hurting the shoulder. He was along the sideline, didn't have his helmet though, so there was you didn't expect him to come back into the game, but I imagine if he's on the sideline, it's not that serious. But still, to do what he's doing on both sides of the football, it's unreal. It's unreal. And if he's healthy, I think you can make a strong argument that he deserves to be at least in contention here at 1 and 2. Again, it's Hunter and Genty. Those are easily my leaders when it comes to the Heisman race.